Hello and welcome to the instructional video on the print unclog pattern. Sometimes when you're printing photos, you may notice banding or stripes in your photo that's been printed. At that time, you know that something needs to be done because there are probably some clogged nozzles. The typical way to clear those is to go into the driver, it's usually on the maintenance tab, and click nozzle check. Print your nozzle check pattern and see which nozzles, if any, are clogged by looking at the lines on the nozzle check pattern to see if there's any missing chunks in those lines. Well, in the driver, when you do a head cleaning or even an auto nozzle check and cleaning on some of the Epson printers, all that's doing, even the auto nozzle check, is running the head cleaning multiple times, and it cleans all colors and wastes a lot of ink. You can be down to, you can deplete your cartridges by almost half after just a few cleaning cycles. So we want to try to avoid that if we can. The cleaning cycles that you use here in the driver will spit out a lot of ink into the capture sponge in your printer, and it can actually reduce the life of your printer by eventually the printer is going to tell you that the sponge is full and you're doing a lot of head cleaning and wasting a lot of ink at the same time. So there's a lot of reasons to avoid a head cleaning. On CIS equipped printers, head cleaning can be an even bigger problem because when you clean the heads, it sucks a lot of ink out of your tanks in the CIS system, and it can take a minute or two for the pressure to equalize in the system, and until it does, you can look like you have clogged nozzles, but you really don't because the pressure hasn't equalized from the massive use of ink that occurred during that cleaning cycle. So to avoid those problems with head cleaning, there's a new feature here that uses nozzle pulsing technology to actually free up clogs in your head, in your print head, without having to waste ink on full cleaning cycles. And you can target specific colors as well. In the File menu, you'll find Print Unclog Pattern. If you click that, you get this dialog here. The dialog typically opens up with all the checkboxes checked, and the instructions here tell you to just set up your printer first to letter size, plain paper, and the highest quality that you can select for plain paper. The reason we want to click setup first and set up the printer, make sure I have letter size paper here. I'm going to choose plain paper and make sure that the best photo quality is selected. Click OK. And now my printer has been set up for this unclog pattern. And the reason we do that first is because, as you can see, I'm going to show you what this pattern looks like here in a second. If you click print right now, it'll actually go ahead and print one full page of the unclog pattern immediately. But for now, I'm just going to queue up the print so that we can see it for the purpose of this video. So I'll click queue, and there's the unclog pattern in the queue. Now this is the full pattern that will pulse every nozzle on the head at different rates across the page. But getting back to the reason that we set up the printer first is because this pulse pattern is designed for the paper size that you're using, the printable area of the paper for your printer driver. Here on this Epson, it happens to be 8.266 by 10.766 inches. So this pattern is designed specifically for that size so that it can optimally fire the nozzles across the page. You might want to print this full nozzle check pattern that exercises all the nozzles on the print head once a week or so if you're not using your printer regularly, and that'll keep the clogged nozzles from appearing because it'll keep ink flowing through the system without using a ton of ink on cleaning cycles that might be needed. Now back into the unclog pattern dialog here. Let's say we've done the nozzle check in our driver and we notice that magenta and yellow have a couple missing lines. Everything else is fine. So I'm going to uncheck all and just click magenta and yellow because those were the two that needed cleaning. When I do that and click print to print it immediately, or click Q to put it into the queue just so we can see it, you can see that it only pulses the yellow and the magenta nozzles. Now when you print this on your printer, on that plain paper, it'll pulse these nozzles on and off across the page at different rates, and you'll find that most of the time that's all that's needed, and it only will use the yellow and magenta ink. It's not going to waste the ink in black and cyan and red and all the other colors as it would if you ran a full cleaning cycle. There's one other thing I want to show you here, and that is the black color. If you notice breaks in the black on your nozzle check pattern from your driver, you can click black and then print that pattern. I'm just going to again cue it up here so we can see it. I'm not actually going to print it. So that's going to pulse the black across the page and free up any clogs in the black print head. But what if you have 2 blacks, 3 blacks? Well, when you know you have a matte black and a photo black, here's what you do. If you're printing like you typically do, click Setup and follow these instructions here, which tell you to select plain paper, make sure it's letter size, do the highest quality. When you do that and print the black pattern for that, it'll use the matte black ink for your plain paper. If there are breaks in the photo black on your nozzle check, the only thing you need to do is go right here and click a glossy paper type, such as Premium Photo Paper Glossy. Now, when you print, you can still load a sheet of plain paper into the printer because we don't care what the print looks like. We just want a piece of paper in there. But by selecting a glossy type in the driver first, and then saying black, and then printing that, it's actually going to use the photo black ink. So that's the way you can clear photo black versus matte black. You don't even have to use a glossy piece of paper. Just set the glossy paper type in the driver. One last thing to be aware of on printers that use a gloss optimizer. When you look at your nozzle check pattern that comes off a printer like an Epson that has gloss optimizer ink, that checkerboard pattern that appears under the nozzle check is actually showing you the gloss optimizer nozzle check. If there are any squares missing in that checkerboard pattern, you know that you have some clogs in your gloss optimizer cartridge. So to deal with that, I would recommend checking all these boxes and printing the full pattern. But before you do that, go into your printer setup, choose a glossy paper type again, because again, it won't put down gloss optimizer unless you use a glossy paper type. Highest quality, and for me, I like to go here to the gloss and select full. That way we know it's going to put down gloss optimizer across the whole page. Now I've got glossy paper type selected, full gloss optimizer, and I'll click OK. Now I'm done with my setup, and when I click print here, it'll actually print this pattern, which is the full color pattern, but it's going to put gloss optimizer onto the page and actually pulse the gloss optimizer cartridge across here to clear that color. So that's how you deal with the gloss optimizer if you need to clear those nozzles. Hopefully this video will help you get the most out of this new feature. The new feature doesn't require a whole lot of knowledge or explanation, but this video should help you maximize the chances that you're able to clear any clogs that you might find in your nozzle check without having to waste ink on cleaning cycles, and you can also target specific clogs on specific colors here rather than wasting all of your inks on a full cleaning cycle. Thanks for watching.